Welcome, everyone. Today is the first inaugural Small Business Spotlight. We are doing this in lieu of our virtual Strawberry Fest, now the RB celebration, which will take place over the course of a full month. One of those weeks is a focus on the people who power our community, the small businesses. And I'm joined today with Cori Whitaker. Cori Whitaker is a very successful and long-standing realtor with Windermere Real Estate. She's a native of Richmond Beach, and she's been helping people move here for many, many years. And I'm so pleased to chat with her today. I myself, Patrick McNulty, I'm a newer board member to Richmond Beach, been here since about 2017, and really am an active community volunteer. And I look to get the word out to our residents, either those looking to move here or, unfortunately, maybe those looking to sell their home in Richmond Beach as well. So without further ado, let me stop sharing and we'll get to know Cori a little better. So Cori, welcome. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I see your face on all these pamphlets I get on billboards. You're everywhere around the
No
community. You're a
billboards.
staple. No
No
billboards yet. Anyway.
billboards. Yeah, I am in the newspaper, the Richmond Beach newspaper, and in the Innis Arden magazine. And yes, I do a lot of marketing.
Hey, that's kind of the lifeblood of a realtor. So how long have you been in business?
I've been in business 16 years since
Wow,
2005. Yeah,
fantastic.
full time,
And
very active.
and you're from the area? Kind of give me the background.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm a Northwest native, born and raised in the area, and came back after college. I went to Colorado College in the Springs and came back, lived in Seattle, and then lived in Crown Hill, and then went to Richmond Beach for 18 years. And now I just moved around the corner to Innis Arden about 4 years ago.
Ah, fantastic. So
Yeah.
what drew you back to Richmond Beach and what keeps you coming back to this area here?
Well, I mean, coming the Northwest, I will always live in the Northwest. There was never a thought that I would live anywhere else. I love the water and the mountains and all the natural beauty. It's just amazing to live here. And that's what brings a lot of people in. Richmond Beach was kind of a little gem that I found when I was ready to be a move up buyer myself, coming from the Crown Hill area, had a son, and wanted more of a community feel. I wanted to be able to have my kids ride on the streets, ride their bikes, talk to neighbors, not have to drive like this, pull over as you drive through
Sure.
streets in Seattle. So I was looking just north in general and stumbled on Richmond Beach, and I loved the eclectic vibe. I loved the variety of the houses. It was very laid back and cool. We looked up in Edmonds. We looked mostly along the Western corridor, but as soon as we saw Richmond Beach, we knew that was a place for us.
Same here. Yeah, we have a family. We moved to Ballard initially. I'm from the Midwest, but
Mhm.
we put down some roots here. Same thing. Wanted a little community and
Yeah,
just found it an amazing space for that. So
yeah,
tell me more. You have some kiddos. You mentioned. How
yeah,
old are those
yeah.
guys?
Isaac is now, well, he was born in 97, so he is now 23 and turned 24 this year. And then Anna is 21 and she's down in Phoenix, Arizona, playing soccer for GCU. Isaac is here living for now. He wants to get back to Montana. He went to school there, and we'll get back there eventually. He got a job with Montana Rail, and they shut down right at COVID. So he's been doing work around the area here and waiting for them to open up jobs back again.
That's amazing. Maybe we'll get them on the podcast for a series on living and growing up in Richmond Beach. I'd be curious to
Uh,
hear some of their favorite memories. That's kind of
oh
one of the themes I hear. A lot of parents here.
yeah, oh yeah, and I don't know. Isaac's kind of, I don't know if Isaac would be happy doing that. Anna might. She's a little bit shy too. So I don't know where they get that from.
Well, you're out in the community. Yeah, I'm curious. So let's switch back over to your career. I know you started early on. I read on your LinkedIn you sold a business and then you
Mhm.
moved into real estate. So I'm kind of curious to learn a bit about that. But then how that mentality, that mindset translates to your business today.
Well, I've always loved small business, and the company that I was involved with before, I was part owner in a small publishing company in Edmonds, and we produced health and wellness materials for corporate wellness programs. And we started out with 3 people and grew it to, at our height, 28 people,
Wow.
and just millions and millions of printed materials shipped internationally. We had Mexico, Canada, and the US. And, as the internet started to become more and more popular, we kind of saw the writing on the wall. People were hiring their own web designers, they were buying content. So we made all our money with print. So we knew that that was probably going to be short lived. And with the process of trying to decide what I wanted to do next, I didn't want to do the corporate thing. I really couldn't think of a smart business idea to start something new. And always had been interested in real estate. My dad was an investor in real estate. He had some commercial properties and a couple of vacation properties, and it was always fun to watch him. And he was an entrepreneur. So, very much my first mindset guru. Um, and I just thought that would be a good next move, knowing that someday I'd be handling his estate, his real estate transactions. It was
Sure.
probably good for me to learn just for that, and it was interesting. So I made the move, and I've just loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's what I was meant to do. I think it's fun having my own business. I'm proud to hang my license with Windermere. That's been great. And just to be in charge of my own destiny, I can do as much or as little as I want. And the more that I got involved, the more joy and fulfillment I got out of helping people with their major transitions. I mean, we're talking first time home buyers, people that are moving up to their family home someday, somebody who's grabbing that view they always wanted, or then the downsizers too. That's been fun too, because they finally get a cash out of these big houses and decide what they want for their next chapter. With, is it a place in Arizona? Of course, condos in Edmonds are very popular.
Yes, they are.
So it's all life. It's good stuff. Some's not, some is not always good. There are forced changes too,
Hmm.
which are hard, but I'm happy to help them navigate that as well.
So there's a lot of competition. There's technology upstarts. There's people like you, kind of bedrock of our community, been doing this some time. Like, what do you think sets you apart from other agents, other services here?
Well, I mean, personality and style and work ethic, those things all are unique to each individual. But I think the biggest thing is that I love to work, and I work full time, more than full time. So a lot of people that go into the business go in kind of part time.
Hmm.
Maybe they want the vacation fund, or they don't really want to work a full day. They don't really want to give up their weekends. So they don't really get they just don't get the results. So I think the biggest difference is that I do a high volume of business, and that helps keep me very current, because there's so many nuances in this business and it can shift in a second.
Hmm.
And to watch the data, to study it, to be in it, to be in those negotiations, see what people are writing up, see where they're willing to take risks, all of that, just makes me better every time. So the experience doing it daily, closing more than a transaction a week, keeps it very relevant and current. So that's, I think, the biggest difference.
And you've got a whole team to help you out, which is
Yeah,
fantastic. And looking
yeah.
at your team, yeah,
That's really the only way I could do it because I want to be with people. I want to consult and listen and go through houses and do the negotiations. And everything else is handled by two full-time licensed employees now. And that allows me to do this volume, but still be present and available for people.
yeah.
So it's worked out really well. I've been with Lynette since 2014, and she's a wonderful, experienced, calm customer service person and back office person. And then I just hired Rory, who helps me with buyers now because the buyers have come out of the woodwork and there's so much demand that I really needed help serving people. So I hired her last fall.
Awesome. Shout outs. You mentioned a phrase just a moment ago around things can change in an instant. And part of this today, this video to get to our residents, our buyers, our sellers, is to understand what are the things changing? What do you think is the biggest challenge either a buyer or a seller faces right now that's really, really rapidly changed for them?
Well, you'll definitely hear a lot about, I'm sure everyone has, the inventory issues. And so for buyers, the biggest challenge has been inventory, having choices, doing what it takes to win against sometimes 20 other offers. I mean, it's getting better, and it depends on the property, of course, and the price point and the area. But buyers don't have a lot to choose from. And when they do, it's a feeding frenzy. And so their comfort level with risk and waiving things or overpaying, that plays into it. And if they're very conservative, they're not winning.
Mm.
And it's tough because as a consultant and advisor, I would never advocate for someone overpaying. And so, or waiving inspections, that's not prudent. And yet you weigh that with people procuring a house when they want to procure a house with the interest rates they want. And so it's a very tough line to walk, and buyer fatigue is very high. But it's getting better. Inventory does build in the spring. It always does. It's been low in the winter, which is common, even lower because of COVID.
Right.
And all those, that big, gathering of data with some sellers not selling because they're worried for their health or uncertain about their job, wanting to see where the market will go, not being able to procure a house on the other side. You have that situation even making less inventory. But buyers are absorbing things really quickly, and sellers now see that the prices are great and the getting's good. So they're trying to scurry to market now. The biggest challenge with sellers is perspective, because they are hearing about hundreds of thousands of dollars of escalations and 28 offers, and the trajectory has been like this. So, now when I meet with somebody, we have to be careful about not overpricing, because they want to price where other properties have ended up. But the reason properties have ended there is because they started lower, there were 28 offers, and they had this competition to deal with. And that's starting to temper already.
Mm.
And so it's important to show them the data, emphasize where things started, show them how many more listings are coming to market and how much more choice buyers have. We're at a point in time where it's normal that buyers, now that they see inventory coming, they might wait for the next one if this one doesn't check all their boxes. Whereas 3 months ago, they would decide it's good enough.
Sure. Very interesting pricing psychology there. I'm a marketer by trade, so I find that stuff fascinating.
Oh, it's so
Very
fascinating.
fascinating.
And then, of course, layer on condition,
Hmm.
neighborhood, who the demographic group is, and that's part of the most fun for me. I love the people transition, being a part of such an important move in their life. And I also love the research and the data. It's just fun. You can really get into the weeds, and there's so many tools out there that are available to analyze, and so lots of graphs and absorption rates, and it's fun.
Well, let's go down one of those paths. Maybe let's start with the buyer, and then I have maybe some more content on the selling. But as a buyer, in any time, COVID time especially, I have to do research. Most of it's virtual. What are some resources? What are things I should be looking for as a buyer? How do I go about that process? Kind of give me the overview as a buyer of how you'd go about it.
Yeah, I mean, the very first thing I would recommend to a buyer is to pick an agent. Somebody who you can grow to trust, someone you already trust, someone who is relevant in the area. Be careful about choosing your buddy. It's hardcore out there. So, study the area that you want to move to and see who's doing business there and maybe interview a few people. And that's a good first step, because then that person might have some lender contacts that they know are savvy and get the job done. And that's, the second step is for sure a lender, to find out what you can afford. A lot of times lenders will approve somebody higher than they can afford. And so they work backwards to their comfort level of what their monthly payment might be. And having those good partners makes all the difference in the process, in the procurement, such. So kicking tires, looking online,
Sure.
deciding what you like, what you don't like, thinking about your must-haves and your hope-to-haves and your definitely nots. Those are the best way to prepare for a buyer.
Now, what about the seller? I'm curious to go down the path of home improvement, remodeling. Can you tell me about some of the greatest ROI improvements that people can do according to you?
Yeah, yeah, it's that's probably my biggest consult with sellers is some will have me in 5 years early, some will have a couple of years saying, we're going to move down the line. What should we be thinking about? What matters? What doesn't matter? And again, all of that it's based on the neighborhood they're in, what kind of competition, what kind of price range, timing, motivation, what we're starting with. I would say that certainly to focus on things that need repair is a biggie,
Like
even when,
roof, water heater,
unless you're selling
furnace?
a
Yeah.
fixer. Yeah,
Okay.
unless you're selling a fixer, then fix things that are broken. Even a totally dated house will sell for a higher price if we can say that it's in great condition. So condition issues would be big. Curb appeal would be big, and that would be um, garage doors, a nice front door, maybe some landscaping. Those things really matter. That first impression really matters. I'd say windows, replacing dated windows is big. People are very focused on efficiency, and they're better. They look better. They're spendy, but it definitely pays off. And then kitchens and outdoor spaces, I would say, are big. Kitchens, for sure, doesn't have to be over the top. It depends on the price point, but people love their kitchens. And the new biggie has been outdoor space.
Yeah. Have you seen that shift during the pandemic and everybody staying at home? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a trend for a while. And it's always funny because here we're in the Northwest with the weather that we have, but because we're Northwesterners, we love to be outside. So that has been a trend, I'd say, for a good number of years lately, but definitely has amped up with COVID. And, people want, friends or neighbors to be able to join them on a deck or in a backyard, patio, in a heated place. That's nice. I mean, people are even doing the fireplace, just simple fire pits.
Oh, sure.
Just simple that way, all the way to heated and couches and plumbed gas grills, TVs. So that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was always amazed living in the Midwest how um, people put such a high priority and a premium, and I do too, on the improvements, less on the land. But I've also seen, as you go closer to the city, there's these little postage size backyards or no backyard. Have you seen an increase for land now in the pandemic as well? Has that starting to be another trend? People want a
That
backyard.
yeah, I think that's one of the most fascinating changes is that we were on a trend of smaller houses and smaller lots for many because people wanted less to maintain, less to clean, less to heat. We're saying things like our lives are out there. We have sports and ballet and friends and travel, and we just want our house to be a place to gather, but our lives are out there. And so there was a trend to smaller homes away from the McMansions. And now it's changing again. I wouldn't say big McMansions are coming back, but I would say that definitely people want more square footage and they want more yard for kids and pets. And the square footage matters what kind too. They don't want one big great room space. They want an office or two. They want a rec room to kick the kids to. So the adults can gather someplace else. So the configuration is different as well.
What else about the indoor configuration are you seeing changing or is popular that, maybe people looking to list their homes here would want to get ahead of and trend? I know home office space, like you said, is at a premium with a lot of remote workers, but what else are you seeing?
Yeah, main floor masters have a main floor option for a bedroom is pretty big. We have an aging baby boomer population coming through, so either people are thinking for their own selves that I might break a hip or have knee surgery, so it'd be nice to have a bedroom and a shower on this level, or they still have parents that come to visit, and so they want something for them. So if there's a way that somebody can carve out some sort of main floor bedroom type situation, maybe adding a shower to that little guest powder, or you don't really need a closet necessarily if it's going to just serve that purpose for a guest or for the broken hip. But that's one thing. And then I would just say yes, offices and a rec room. Having two hangout spaces is
Right.
good because people are spending more time at home. And so to be able to tuck away and have different spaces that are separated is nice. I wouldn't start closing up a great room space, but to make sure that you're carving out spaces. If you have an unfinished basement, then to finish that up would be good.
So you're not saying open concept is dead, but you're saying it's great, but we also need all these other little spaces. We need to separate a little bit too inside. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The pendulum has swung a little with the great room space because you can't all be in there doing what you have to do with office and friends and talking. And, I've heard people say that they didn't really think about the fact that they'd be making this big dinner for guests.
Hmm.
And then they'd sit down at a table right there and their pots and pans and all you know, their paraphernalia from cooking's right there. So if someone has even a little bit of formality, they like having that table around a corner or with a half wall or even something. So that's been interesting. The great room space
Hmm.
change.
That is
Yeah.
an interesting shift. Any other, what are some of those stats or figures or things that people wouldn't even think of that are new or changing or evolving, or maybe even, again, we're at the start, a lot more inventory coming on board here next
Mhm.
4 or 5 months. Like what's unpredictable for people that you have access to, but they wouldn't even think of.
Yeah, I think, well, one of the things that's interesting in Richmond Beach is that it has very much grown in popularity as people are trying to move out of the city. We still have a good reputation with schools, uh, parks, commuting, having Edmonds closed, Richmond Beach, business district starting to develop more and more. But really, the community vibe people are being drawn to, and our appreciation rates are higher than, say, Ballard. So year over year, we're just over 12%, and Ballard's just about 7%. And that was such a popular spot for so long. And while you have been hearing about people leaving the city, there's still plenty of people coming to the city. But the appreciation rates are lower in city than up north. Edmonds, South Edmonds is even higher than Richmond Beach. So that's people hopping over the county line for lower taxes and for maybe a little more space. But in Richmond Beach, when I think about Richmond Beach being 8th to the water, there's literally one listing available right now. And at this time last year, there were 6 or 7, and the year before there were 11, and there's one. And our inventory, it goes pretty quick. I mean, that's when you look at the number of sales in this past year compared to the number of closings the year before, it's about the same. It's about 60 one year, 57 another year. But this year and the past year, the market time is half. And the sold price to list price ratio is over 100% this year compared to about 98% last year. So a very, very strong market, and expected to remain so for a while. The caution is, and we're all very in tune with it, is to watch those numbers and those absorption rates, because as more inventory comes to market, there's been times in the past where there's been a wave that has created a stall. And the most notable one was early summer of 2018. And that there was just a very big climb of inventory, a lot of multiple offers, a lot of buyer fatigue, and interest rates ticked up, and the head tax discussion took place. And that freaked people out a little bit, that Amazon was going to be leaving the city. And it just stalled everything. I mean, the inventory tripled, just sat there on the market, and there were all these buyers. So we're keeping an eye on that. I personally think, and many of my peers believe, that there's enough demand that the new inventory will be absorbed. It'll settle things out and be healthier, but we don't expect to have now too much inventory where it becomes a neutral market or anything like that. And interest rates are supposed to stay under 4. So even though they're probably not going to get under 3 again, they're going to bump along in the mid 3s is our expectations.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic there over the fall and winter. I know I got my refi and we get a great rate. So,
Good.
but I'm
Good.
happy to see, fiscal policy rates will still be favorable for buyers, and that's fantastic, like you said, to match the inventory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our chief economist, Matthew Gardner, we get in the down or during COVID early days, we were getting a weekly update.
Wow.
And now we're getting monthly updates now that things have settled down a little bit. But he also, he shares notes with other economists nationally, and that's really what he continues to conclude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. People, I think, are ready to get out and travel and probably buy and sell homes. I'd be curious to see
Mhm.
if maybe there'll be more than that 60 or so mark that you mentioned this year. Be really
Yeah.
curious to see
Yeah.
just people's perception, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's some talk about the buyers that don't have to buy may just take a break. They're ready to travel. They want to get out of town. They have some buyer fatigue, and there's some worry in the industry that maybe the buyers are just going to go and be distracted like they are at the holidays. I don't think that's going to happen. Um, but it will temper out. It will calm.
You
It's
think there'll
already
be a
happened.
seller fatigue though? The same way, sellers want to go travel as well. I mean, does that come into your pricing mentality of let's price it a little bit lower, let's entice these buyers who may be wandering? Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I don't think sellers, I think sellers are really happy right now.
Okay.
And really, it's really just reining them in a little bit. Um, Underpricing is in a strong market usually not a concern, but with more inventory coming on, if somebody has a little bit of a quirk to their house and they underprice expecting a bidding war and they only get one,
Mm.
that's a problem. So we talk a lot about the cream puff that everybody wants and that strategy versus something where maybe there's a trade-off or two, and that pricing strategy. So I don't think sellers are too worried.
I have a few more. My wife would be remiss if I didn't ask you. She had a question around, she's seeing trends, perhaps, that the toilet is in a separate room
Huh?
in a master ensuite, or sometimes then she says now it's coming back into the five piece. I'd be curious if you've seen anything around just master bathroom design and how those pieces are moving.
Yeah. I still see people like having the toilet separate. Um, even even a half wall or some kind of privacy wall
Hmm.
is desired. Um, I wouldn't say anybody says, yeah, let's bring it back and put it by the bathtub. Yeah. So I just haven't been aware of anything like that. The topic that I'm seeing a lot is, do we need a bathtub? Do we need an elegant, master, luxurious bathtub? And a lot of people don't take the time to have baths, and they want really cool, big, dual head showers. And so I get that question a lot about, do we need a bathtub? And a bit of it depends on the price point. If you're multi-million dollar house, you should probably have a bathtub. If you're kind of in the middle, there should at least be a bathtub in the house somewhere,
Right.
because grandkids, kids, bathing, sometimes people think just how they live. They would never take a bath. They don't have grandkids that have baths. They don't bathe their dogs. So they get rid of all their baths. And then that's a bit of a, a resale challenge if your house that move up buyers are going to buy.
That doesn't qualify the bathroom any different. It's still a full bath, even if I don't have a bath, right?
No, if you don't have a bath, it's like three
Three
quarter.
quarter.
Hmm.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sneaky, sneaky. So you're saying, so kitchen, obviously super popular. Bathroom model. I'm hearing laundry is trendy as well. Functional.
Yeah. Yeah. People like cool laundry rooms for sure. But I've never seen the laundry room sell the house. I've seen the garage sell the house.
The garage sell. Do
Yeah.
tell. Is there an anecdote you have there?
Well, if you're a garage guy or car guy or gal, or you like, workshop or whatever, to have a 3-car garage with a lot of cabinetry, maybe an epoxy finish, really clean, extra storage up above, maybe a lift, those kinds of things. I wouldn't go put in a lift, but if there are people who think it's really cool, and sometimes that will sell a
Oh,
house. But yeah, some people, yeah, definitely garages. Laundry rooms are fun for sure, but I don't think it's a make or break for most.
yeah. So fix anything that's broken or needs repair. Curb appeal is big. I'd almost put that in that curb appeal. It's that wow factor, right?
Mhm.
And then focus on your tried and true for your ROI with kitchen,
Okay.
baths, things like that. That makes a
Yeah,
ton of sense. And then
windows.
think about this outdoor space, this outdoor living that
Mhm.
is always been around the Northwest, probably more popular and will continue to, be very favorable here. That makes a ton
Yes,
of sense.
yes,
That makes a ton of sense.
yeah. I could talk
Awesome.
about this all day. I
Oh,
love
I'm saying I'm not in the market, but this fascinates me. Yeah, we're
There's a lot
constantly
of
looking at.
talk in real estate. We all, not all of us live in homes, but a lot of us do. And people just, it's our biggest asset most of the time. And people want to know. And so that's part of the fun is pretty much everyone's interested in it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Any last minute things? Where can we find more information about you, your website? Please plug away and tell us where we can find assets and calculators and
Uh,
resources. You name it.
well, Cori Whitaker Homes is my website, and all my contact information's there. And there are financial calculators and search options there. So if you're in Richmond Beach, you'll find me somewhere in a sign, in a flyer. It's been fun because in the beginning, when you first go into real estate, you go anywhere the business will take you because it's business. And over the years, I've been able to narrow my territory, which was exactly my goal, so that I could work within 10 minutes of where I live. So it's easy to pop in on people, help people move things, do what has to happen. And it's all right here. So that's why the marketing is crazy in this area. You wouldn't see that anywhere else, even Edmonds. I do a lot in Edmonds also, but
Sure.
I don't market in Edmonds like I market here simply because this is my zone.
Well, I think it makes a ton of sense if I'm looking for this neighborhood to have an expert, as you are, a community treasure. And we also thank you at Richmond Beach for your donations and support, and lastly, taking out time from your day to meet with me and to share information with our community. I'm hoping we can do this more often, and people know where to find you. Cori, it's been a
Anytime,
pleasure. Thank you.
anytime. I would just say to people that don't worry about tapping me for advice. There's no pressure. I'm very low key. Um, you'll hear that people will say down to earth and professional and genuine. You won't get a high sales pitch. I'm happy to consult, even if I've done a lot of basis setting for people. When someone passes, they need to set a new basis
Mm.
of value. And sometimes people will come and they'll be sort of apologetic and they want to ask for my help for a basis, but they don't plan on selling anytime soon. And they may even sell to a family member. That is just fine. It's it's all good. It's all information. I get better. I help them. They're happy. They tell someone. So I'm very happy to weigh in on those improvements or value anytime with no pressure.
I think that's a tremendous. I call that the give first principle. So we appreciate that. And if you have any of those, please give Cori a call and contact her on the website. I'll also put your contact information here in the
Okay.
video. So, uh,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, thank you,
Fun.
Cori.
Yeah. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you as well. Thank you.
Thanks.